Hey everybody, this is Angela and you're listening to 5 Picks and a Chick featuring El Gato. This is a show that gives you 5 NFL picks for people who love football and friendly wagering. However, we are in the off season, so today we're going to talk about the NBA Finals. We'll talk about the series, we'll talk about Game 1, and we'll give you our picks on who we like to win the finals and who we think is going to win tonight or at least cover. So we'll also throw in the over-under for tonight's game. Gato, what happened in our last podcast?
Well, shit happened. That's what happened.
Oh my God.
Angela, if you think about it, is it our fault those teams didn't cover? Come on.
Yeah, not really.
At some point, those guys need to cover or go in the over-under, whatever we pick. But no, you're right. It was some tough kickings, and, God, it was, 0-4.
0-5.
Whatever that data point was.
Yeah.
It even happens to the best of us, but that was tough watching. It was good basketball overall, but
yes.
it was tough not being able to, pick the side or pick the over under. So, but anyway, we have an opportunity tonight to redeem, and let's see what happens.
Yeah. 0-5 is not good. Our season records for both of us is 11 wins, 18 losses. This is the off season, and what I'm going to say is, hey, I like football a lot better than basketball, so that's going to be my excuse.
For sure.
All right, El Gato, what we'll do is we'll talk about both teams, the Celtics and the Mavericks, whatever you want to say. This is just open. And then towards the end, we'll go ahead and give our prediction on who's going to win the series, maybe throw in how many games, and then we'll talk about tonight's game, who we think is going to cover, and then throw in the over-under. You good with that?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so let me talk about the Mavs first, because our last podcast, I want to just say we were so wrong about Luka and Irving. Remember how we said, well, Luka is a little bit heavier, a little bit slower getting down the court. Irving, he does have his fast breaks, but I think, that may slow down. We were so wrong about that, weren't we?
I would say we were. There's no sugarcoating it. But a lot of the pundits were just as wrong as well, because they had the Mavs losing to OKC. If we're going to go back a few series now, they had them losing to OKC. Certainly, I think the consensus was that they would eventually lose out to the younger and more athletic Timberwolves.
Yeah.
But you know what? The Mavericks came out, and Doncic did what he did. We all witnessed that, and Kyrie put it into a different playoff year.
Yeah.
He played. He got his shots. He distributed. He put guys in good spots. To make open shots, and that is kind of the old Kyrie from Cleveland that I remember. Him playing similar to that.
Yeah.
In most recent years with his other teams, like with the Nets and with the Celtics, before he got to the Mavs, I didn't see him quite, distribute the ball or be the teammate that he has been here in this playoff run with the Mavericks. So that's been a difference. But basketball is what it is. Donna came to play, and they dispatched the Wolves at 4-1. The number 1 or number 2 defensive rated team in the league. They get rid of OKC, the number 1 seed in the West, and you got to hand it to them. They've been balling. They've been playing well.
Yeah, Kyrie really played well in this last series against the Wolves. They're not selfish. Luka is perfectly fine giving the ball to someone else to make the shot, and I saw that in Kyrie as well. So they're not a selfish team, and I'm not saying that the Celtics are, but that's one thing I did notice. If they can't make the shot and have another player that has the opportunity, they're tossing that ball to that player.
Yeah, to your point, Angela, you know what the Mavs in this playoff run remind me of, and Maverick fans are gonna maybe hate me for saying this, but remember how the Spurs would distribute the basketball with Manu and Parker? They would make that extra pass and find that open guy that was either cutting to the hoop or out waiting in the wing at the 3-point line or for an easy 15 footer. That's the way they were distributing the ball against the Wolves. It looked like Spurs basketball of old. So
that's what it reminded me of.
It was nice watching.
Yeah, that's exactly what it reminded me of. If you're that kind of team, you're going to do well. And obviously, we've seen Dallas do well because, like you said, there were a lot of people that were counting them out against the Clippers, and then against the Thunder, and then against the Wolves. They've got two guys on their team that can take over, and they can close the game with these two guys. Now, I know the Celtics, we're going to talk about the Celtics in a bit, but, I mean, with Kyrie and Luka, man, that Dallas is looking really good. This is a matchup between the best regular season team in the Celtics and then the Mavericks, who have been the most impressive team in the playoffs. So I don't think we could get a better matchup in this.
I mean, you're right about this. I mean, the Celtics, look what their playoff run was. They beat the Heat 4-1. They go into they next have Cleveland as their matchup. They whip them 4-1. And then Indiana, who, I thought for a second would maybe really turn that series into a 6 or 7 game series. They get blown out 4-0.
Yeah.
So the Celtics have only lost 2 games during this playoff run. Mavericks have lost 5, but still, they weren't the number 1 seed like the Celtics were, or number 1 or 2 seed. But the Celtics have some good athletes too, the good scorers, good stars. They got Tatum, they got Jaylen Brown, they've got Holiday, who has come on in this playoff run on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. He's kind of like their shutdown guy. I don't know if they're going to match him up against Kyrie, or certainly he's not big enough to cover Doncic. He may have the quicks to disturb where Doncic wants to go, but Holiday, I think, has been a difference maker for the Celtics for sure. So it's going to be some good basketball tonight. It's going to be interesting what the matchups are. Who's going to match up with Doncic? Who do you think can do that?
Man, I don't know. I think it is going to be interesting, but I would think maybe Jaylen Brown, I think, is probably from the Celtics. I really think that Jaylen Brown probably would be the best matchup against Luka. They have to disrupt his game. They have to in order to win, because he is just so good. And then, he's got his teammate Kyrie. So you mentioned Drew Holiday, and it's interesting. Kyrie Irving and Drew Holiday are the only 2 players that will be on the court that have won a championship. Kyrie won with Cleveland, and then in 2016, and then Holiday won in 2021 with Milwaukee. So, those are 2 guys that have experience. So all the others it's a new thing for them. It'll be interesting to see how these guys come out and play.
Yeah, another interesting thing that I want to point out on, we're kind of discussing here mainly who can match up with Doncic, with Donic's size and, not only his height, but, his strength and weight. I mean, he's a tough matchup. But you know what? Who can match up with Tatum and his athletic ability to slash to the hoop and, take someone on the outside and beat him off the dribble? Who on the Mavericks is going to match up with him possibly? I mean, the only guy I can see is maybe PJ. That's the only guy I can see. But that's going to be a tough task for PJ to try to match up with him. And then who's going to match up against Jaylen Brown? That's going to be interesting. But there's going to be a lot of good athletes on the court. But you know what? I've noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but it seems like the Mavericks have a deeper bench on this. I could be wrong, but in watching both series, these last couple of series, it seems like the Mavericks go to their bench more often than the Celtics do. I was looking up some box scores, and to me, it didn't seem like the Celtics really rely on the bench. And Mavericks have some good quality players that come off the bench and contribute. 5 points here, 7 points there, and they've got Gafford, who came in for Lively while Lively was recovering from a potential concussion. Mm-hmm. And Gafford, came. He blocked some shots and. He defended the rim really well, got some key rebounds. So I don't think there's anyone on the Celtics team that can match up with the height and athleticism of Lively and Gafford on the Celtics. They've got that center Horford. He's up in age now. He mainly tries to play on the perimeter. If I remember correctly, he doesn't really go inside and bang and try to get rebounds. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Who's gonna cover Gafford or Lively for on the Celtics side defensively? I know they got that big 7-foot center, Porzingis. What's his name? I'm sorry. Porzingis.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's healthy enough to keep up with these young guys from the Mavericks. So we'll see.
And like Gafford and Lively, man, they've been really good on defense as well.
Yeah, they have.
So it'll be interesting to see how they all match up in tonight's game. And then I'm sure after tonight's game, they're going to make adjustments. But you talked about Porzingis, and it's going to be interesting on him to see how he plays, because this is his first game back after his calf injury. Yeah. And, man, I can tell you, I pulled a hamstring on Sunday, and that is no joke. So it's like, even you would think it just affects you with walking, but it affects you when you lay down, when you stand up from sitting down, when you twist, when you bend over. It's all the time. So, and I know he had a calf injury. I'm talking about a hamstring injury, and I'm not even comparing myself to these athletes, but it was not fun. It was very painful.
Well, didn't that top scoring guard from the Indiana Pacers, Halliburton, isn't that what he missed the last 2 games? Wasn't it a hammy or a calf muscle?
Yeah.
If you can't explode, these guys use their legs, obviously run up and down the court, but also for explosiveness to jump and rebound. And so, yeah, I can imagine with Porzingis trying to come back from a calf injury, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But you know what? Now that we've kind of talked about these matchups, when we first opened up the offseason with this playoff run, I believe I had predicted the Celtics and the Nuggets in the final, and
you did.
I think I went with the Nuggets to win it all. But I've been kind of hearing myself speak, and then I've been listening to you. Does it seem like we're both leaning towards the Mavs in this series? I think I am.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go the other way. I think for the series, I think I'm going to go with the Celtics. I talk about both in good ways and bad ways because I think these teams are so evenly matched. This is going to be a series that is going to be fun to watch because they are so evenly matched. Each team has 2 great players. I mean, they all are great players, but you've got your Luka and your Irving, you've got Brown and Tatum. So I see it going in 7. So I think I'm going to be on the side of the Celtics to win the series and taking it all the way to Game 7. But for tonight's game, I'm going to go with the Mavs. The spread is 6.5 Celtics. I just think that's a lot of points for this first game. I think the Mavs, they may not win, but I think that they'll cover that spread.
Yeah, I like that too. I like the 6.5, and I also like the over at 116.5.
216.5.
Excuse me, 216.
Yeah, I'd like the over also if it was 116.5. Give that to me.
Yeah, that'd be over probably in the third quarter, the start of the third quarter. But yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. Yeah, so I'm gonna go. Yeah, I like the Mavs with plus the points, especially in this first game, and with the over, I think both teams have played pretty loose and put some points up on the board. It may be an up and down game for the first 3 quarters, and then. In the NBA, especially playoff time, it usually seems the defense comes around during the fourth quarter. So I'm hoping they get a lot of their points in the first 3 quarters and then manage to make make the over in the fourth. But yeah, I'm looking for a really nice game tonight. I'm going to be watching and see how it turns out. But I do like the Mavericks. Getting back to the series, I think I'm going to go with the underdog on this one. I'm going to go with the Mavericks in 6. That's kind of shocking, right? Winning it 4-2, but
yeah,
I think with the momentum they got against the number 1 seed in OKC and dispatching the Wolves the way they did, I think I'm going to go with the Mavs in 6. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, and for the series, the line is Boston minus 220, and then the Mavs plus 180. So that's the line right now for the series. Just so you know, if you didn't already. Yeah. With this, Gato, I think in order for the Celtics to win this series, to win the championship, I can see them having to make a lot more outside shots. I think Dallas protects the rim really well. Tatum and Brown get hot with their 3-point shots. I can see them winning this series. The Mavs can do it as well. So I really am torn with this, but I have to pick someone, right?
I'll go with the underdog in this series with the Mavs in 6, like I mentioned. But you know what? We haven't discussed. We know who the superstars are on each side. Kyrie and Doncic on the Mavs, Tatum and Brown with the Celtics, but who do you think will be, say, the X guy, the surprise guy that maybe wins a game, or say defensively he shuts someone down on the other side, or even comes off the bench and contributes by maybe not even scoring points but securing loose balls, rebounds on the offensive or defensive side? Who do you think that is on either the Mavs or the Celtics that may be the X factor?
I can see, if you're asking for an X factor for Boston, I can see Derek White maybe coming through as the X factor. And on Dallas, I think they've got so many people that can be the X factor, but I would probably go with Jones on that side, or even maybe Washington. Mavs, there you go. They've got some players that can really play, but so do the Celtics. And I'm going to say, you would think because I'm from Texas, I would go with the Mavs, and I probably should. So I did all my pros, cons, and all that. So it was very evenly matched. And the one tilting thing, that scale and who it tilts to, was the Celtics have home court advantage. So that's kind of why I am choosing the Celtics. I think everything is pretty even.
Yeah, home court is important. I think my X factor guy, you had it right on the Celtics, is White for the Celtics. On the Mavs, I'm torn between choosing either Lively or Gafford as really determining control of the offensive and defensive board. So on this one, I'll go with Lively, the young guy for the Mavericks. If he stays healthy, doesn't get another headshot and is able to play throughout the series, I think I'll pick him as the X factor, aside from the superstars that we mentioned already. So we'll see.
All right. Well, it's going to be a toss-up, I think. I am really going to enjoy this series. I really hope it goes to 7, because I want to watch 7 games of basketball. So let's hope it does go 7.
At least to get us through June, right?
Yeah. And speaking of June, just want to mention that this is going to be our last podcast until we start talking about football in August. So we're going to take a little bit of a summer break. I'll put what our off-season final record is just as a message on our channel, but this will be our official last podcast for off-season.
All right.
Yeah.
Sad to hear, but you know what? We've got, 89, 90 days for the football season in late August to start, so that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, I can't believe it's only 90 days, so here we go. Countdown begins.
Here we go. Countdown, all downhill from here.
It's all downhill from here, thank goodness. Any last final comments, El Gato?
No, I'm just hoping, just like you just said, maybe 6-7 game series. I don't want to see a 4-game series or even a 5-game series. I want this thing to go 6 or 7. kind of keep us occupied for the month of June and watch some good professional basketball. That's what I want to see.
Me too. Well, if you've made it to this point in our podcast, we just want to thank you for listening. Be sure to tell your friends about us. Also, hit the subscribe and like button on our YouTube channel. You can also find us wherever you get your favorite podcast. Make sure to join us. Look for us in August. We will be back and we'll be talking football. And I'm going to say that, I hope our picks are a little bit better than this offseason, El Gato.
Oh, I guarantee you they will be much better.
I'll be ready. As always, I'll be ready. As always, thank you to El Gato for being part of 5 Picks and a Chick. 1, 2, 3, break.
Break. All right.